Mother is directed by Darren Aronofsky, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, and stars Jennifer Lawrence, Javier Bardem, Ed Harris, and Michelle Pfeiffer. Now, this is the story of, basically, from what I've gathered in the previews and from the main story itself, is you have a couple played by Jennifer Lawrence and Javier Bardem who are living in this house, in this country house, uh, pretty much in the middle of nowhere, and the film is basically dealing with Jennifer Lawrence's character who wants to make her home like a perfect, who wants to basically rebuild her home perfectly, or the way that she is wanting to. And Javier Bardem plays a poet who is trying to come up with the best writing, and because he's been having writer's block for a long time. And then all of a sudden, there's a plot involving this couple that comes in, played by Michelle Pfeiffer and Ed Harris, and some bizarre things happen throughout the rest of the film. And I want to leave it there because I don't really want to spoil anything else, because I was actually pretty interested in this film after seeing the trailer. Now, here's just a little backstory of the director. I haven't seen a lot of films by Aronofsky. I've seen a couple of them. I've seen Requiem for a Dream, which I thought was pretty disturbing and pretty unique. And I also watched Black Swan, which I highly enjoyed. And I feel like this is a director that really knows how to, like, he's basically one of those directors that likes to craft a lot of artistic style filmmaking, and he does it in such a way that he tries to basically do kind of like how, well, I guess like how other directors do, like David Lynch, or like some of those other directors that are trying to make you visualize, or trying to say things metaphorically, so to speak, that you can kind of put a lot of interpretation with. And with this film, it got me curious, because in the previews it kind of makes you think that it's supposed to be some kind of like horror film that's meant to be, you're thinking that something's going to go on in this house, or from the previews it makes it look like it's going to be a straight out horror film. But honestly, I think that the film is really not that at all. It's a definitely different experience. So when this movie came out, I can see how it polarized a lot of people, because it's one of those movies that you're probably either going to love or hate. And honestly, I can't really describe a lot about this movie, because without going into spoiler territory, and really, this is a hard one for me to review, because I honestly feel like it's going to be a film that I would probably have to watch again to interpret more based on it, and to try to get more of the themes and metaphorical things that the director was trying to do, because the film basically has like a lot of allegory, has an allegorical narrative that has like biblical references, and it has a very psychological horror based feel of it. And I'll be honest, like I feel like I do like the film, but it's hard for me to really grasp of really what I watched, because it's a film that is trying to say a lot of things that the director is trying to put in metaphorically, and it's basically something that I can't really give a full review with unless I put like a lot of thought into. But I do have pros with it though. I do highly enjoyed the performances of Jennifer Lawrence and Javier Bardem. Jennifer Lawrence to me has been hit and miss lately with a lot of her films, and especially coming off of the X-Men movies, the last recent one she was in, and then the Hunger Games and all that. Here, she's a lot more subdued and reserved, and I think she really, truly brings a lot of edge to her character, and she really shows a lot of the intensity that I haven't really, seen before in a movie. And I highly enjoyed her performance, and honestly, if she was up for at least an Oscar nomination, I think that she could probably, I think they'll probably go for it with her. And I also, I really enjoyed Javier Bardem's character. There are a lot of intense moments that, he'll have like this, kind of, there are some Anton Chigurh moments sprinkles here and there that he does that I actually thought was pretty intense. And I also enjoyed the other cast performances too, including Ed Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer. And it was great seeing Michelle Pfeiffer again because I haven't seen her in a movie in a long time. And you can really see that a lot of this couple that they play, they have they're very suspicious because throughout the entire film, Jennifer Lawrence is trying to keep her house together and everything, and then there's just basically a lot of things happen there's a lot of things happen later on in the film that basically pushes her to the edge of, not trying to go into detail, but you really see a lot of the intensity that she goes through when she's trying to keep everything together with her and Javier Bardem. And so the film carries a lot of themes that I actually did get into a lot. I got into the whole thing about how the poet played by Javier Bardem, is trying to come up with his best story and everything, or his best poem and everything. And it has a lot of themes of fame and worshiping icons and things like that. And another thing I really enjoyed about the film too was how the direction of the movie is really unique, and how it kind of resembles something that looks like it was like shot on film or something like that, because it has like a gritty kind of look to it. And I also enjoy the way that Aronofsky kind of sets up these shots where basically the whole film is in the perspective of Jennifer Lawrence and the way that she walks around the house, and it's almost like the house itself becomes a character. So I did highly enjoy the way that it was directed in that regard. And the visuals in this film are pretty outstanding too. There is some pretty, macabre and really, the way that the house looks and the way that she's going through everywhere, you really sense the feel of isolation, or you really sense the feel of, isolation inside this house. And one of the things I also appreciated was how the film is very unpredictable at times with the story, because as it's going along, you get a sense of what the film is going through if you're really, trying to catch a lot of what's happening. But I felt like there was a lot of things that threw me off, and when things come out of nowhere, it really shows a lot of the intensity in moments that you really feel for for Jennifer Lawrence's character. And I highly enjoyed the way that the film is trying to put a lot of the edge on her, and trying to show how much she really just wants to be left alone with her and Javier Bardem. It's something that I really don't really know how to really describe unless you really watch the film, because it has a lot of also things, this film, that I found out pretty disturbing at times. Now, when it gets to its third act, I will honestly say that it becomes basically it basically becomes something straight like I was watching Requiem from a Dream again. Now, I'm not trying to compare the two. I'm just saying how the director of that film also made it to where you feel really disturbed by the end of it because of the whole way that things unfold. And the last 20 minutes or so of this film really brought me to such an unsettling mood that I really I was at a loss of what I was watching. It was so hard for me to really grasp, or it was so hard and unsettling for me to watch toward the end that I was on board. I was invested the entire time, and I really didn't know what else to really think afterwards. So there's more I could go into detail with, but again, I can't really describe much else without spoiling the film. But I will say that at least from what I got into with the story, I enjoyed. It's just, again, this is probably going to be one of those movies that I probably have to really put some thought into, because it's something that I want to try to interpret a little bit more with. And it's one of those type of it's one of those type of art films that you basically have to go into it knowing what you're getting into. So with that being said, I'm going to say that I'm probably going to give Mother maybe a 7.5 out of 10. There are a couple other things I noticed too. Was that the film does kind of the pacing's a little slow in some parts because it kind of drags out, and I didn't really there were some confusing parts that I wasn't really fully clear on that really threw me off. So, but with that being said, I feel like the film is probably going to grow on me after watching it again if I, put more a lot of thought into. So with that being said, what did you think of Mother? Comment below, and if you like what you see here, you can feel free to like. Comment below, and if you like what you see here, you can feel free to like and subscribe to my channel, and you can also check out some of my other reviews on here, and I'll be seeing you here on my next one. I'll see you later.